king has just done the unthinkable. For the first time in modern British history, a reigning monarch has struck back, not with words, not with a speech, but with power. Real, tangible, constitutional power. And tonight, Westminster is in meltdown. Quick favour before we dive into the footage. If you enjoy this kind of content, please smash that like button and hit subscribe. Over 98% of viewers watch without subscribing. It's totally free for you, but it means the world to us and helps the channel grow. Already subscribed? You're awesome. Thank you. All right, let's get into the video. It began quietly at first, a routine Monday morning at Downing Street where aides shuffled papers and ministers rehearsed talking points. Then came the knock. A royal courier, wearing full ceremonial uniform, delivered a sealed envelope stamped with the crimson insignia of Windsor Castle. Inside were 12 words that would change everything. His Majesty requests an immediate audience with the Prime Minister. Alone. For hours, nobody knew what that meant. The palace doesn't summon a prime minister. It invites. A subtle but sacred distinction. Yet by that afternoon, Keir Starmer was already speeding toward Windsor under police escort, his face pale, his staff silent. And what happened in that room is now the most closely guarded secret in Britain. But one insider, a senior aide present outside the chamber, claims the meeting lasted precisely 54 minutes. And when Starmer emerged, witnesses said he looked ashen, like he'd seen a ghost. 3 hours later, the king made his move. At 7 p.m, the Royal Communications Office released a statement so brief, so cryptic, it sent shockwaves through the nation. His Majesty has expressed his unwavering commitment to the stability of the realm and the enduring principles of our constitutional order. That's it. No names, no accusations, no explanations. But in those 25 words, every journalist in Britain heard the same thing. A direct rebuke of Keir Starmer's attack on the Crown. Within minutes, Royal Rebuke was trending #1 across Twitter and TikTok. BBC's political editor interrupted programming to call it a coded declaration of royal disapproval unseen in a century. The Guardian's front page screamed, "The King strikes back." And the Daily Mail's headline went further, "Charles defends the realm, PM cornered." But the real earthquake came not from the media. It came from Parliament itself. At 9 p.m, Conservative leader Rishi Sunak stood on the steps of Westminster and declared that a Prime Minister who disrespects the institution that unites us cannot lead a divided nation. Moments later, Nigel Farage posted a video outside Buckingham Palace. Calm, deliberate, surgical. While others tear at Britain's fabric, he said, the King stands firm. He represents the soul of this nation, and Reform UK stands with him. That clip reached 10 million views overnight. By dawn, Starmer's government was disintegrating. Inside Downing Street, panic turned to paralysis. Rachel Reeves locked herself in her office, refusing interviews. Angela Rayner reportedly stormed out of a crisis meeting, shouting, "You've finished us all!" By midday, 2 ministers, Transport Secretary Louise Hay and Culture Minister Lisa Nandy, had resigned, citing irreconcilable differences with the Prime Minister's judgment. Their resignation letters leaked within the hour, both including the same haunting line. "I cannot serve a leader who provokes a constitutional crisis against the Crown." The nation was stunned. Within 24 hours, Starmer had gone from commanding majority to political leper. And then the impossible happened. Buckingham Palace leaked. A confidential memo marked private for the Privy Council only appeared in the inbox of the Times political desk. It detailed a proposal quietly circulating among royal advisers, the invocation of the reserve powers, an obscure constitutional mechanism unused since 1834. If enacted, it would allow the king to dissolve Parliament and call a general election without the Prime Minister's consent. Legal experts initially called it impossible, But constitutional historian Dr. Michael Stevens of Oxford told BBC Radio 4, if the Prime Minister's actions are deemed to threaten the monarchy's integrity, the Crown theoretically retains the right to intervene. It's a nuclear option, but it exists. That phrase, nuclear option, became the headline across every outlet in Britain. And at that moment, Keir Starmer's leadership wasn't just wounded. It was radioactive. Outside Parliament, crowds gathered. Some carried Union Jacks and chanted, "Defend the Crown." Others waved signs reading, "No kings, no tyrants." Two Britons facing each other across the streets of London were divided not by party, but by allegiance to history itself. At 5:15 that evening, Starmer appeared live on national television, jaw clenched, voice trembling. He stared directly into the camera and declared, "No one, not even the king, is above democratic accountability." The words landed like a hammer. BBC instantly cut to analysis. Sky News replayed the clip in slow motion. Commentators described it as the single most confrontational statement ever issued by a British Prime Minister toward the Crown. Within hours, the fallout was biblical. A Snap YouGov poll showed 68% of Britons believed the King had acted appropriately. Only 14% backed Starmer. Among Labour voters, support collapsed from 42% to 27%. By midnight, whispers of a coup had turned to open rebellion. Labour MPs launched what they called Operation Phoenix, an internal revolt to remove Starmer before he took the entire party down with him. Rayner, Reeves and Yvette Cooper met in secret at a private flat in Islington. According to one source, Rayner said simply, "Either he goes or Labour burns." Meanwhile, at Windsor Castle, King Charles remained silent, officially. But palace insiders described a flurry of activity unseen since the death of Queen Elizabeth II. Senior courtiers were summoned, former prime ministers were consulted, and behind closed doors, something extraordinary was drafted, a letter addressed not to the public, but to Parliament itself. The letter, which leaked 2 days later, read, "The stability of our nation rests not upon personalities, but upon the principles that have guided us for generations. Those entrusted with power must exercise it with humility, not hubris." It was signed simply, Charles R. Those 2 sentences detonated like dynamite. By the following morning, 10 members of Starmer's cabinet had resigned. The Times called it the fastest disintegration of a government in peacetime history. Even Labour loyalists were now whispering the unthinkable, a royal-triggered general election. And then came the breaking point. A leaked audio recording from inside Number 10 captured Starmer in a fit of rage, reportedly shouting, "He's overstepped! The monarchy answers to Parliament, not the other way around. I'll strip his funding if I have to." The recording, confirmed authentic by Sky News, aired that evening. Public reaction was immediate and ferocious. Within minutes, the King's personal approval rating soared to 91%. Starmer's plummeted below 20, the lowest for any sitting Prime Minister in modern history. Across the Atlantic, even the White House commented. A spokesperson for President Biden stated that the United States deeply values Britain's constitutional monarchy as a pillar of its democratic heritage. In Canada, Prime Minister Trudeau praised the King's steady hand. In Australia, opposition leader Peter Dutton declared, "Britain reminds the world tonight why tradition still matters." Britain's political crisis had gone global. And then, the twist nobody saw coming. Just as Labour MPs prepared a no-confidence vote, a mysterious message appeared on every major news channel. The palace confirmed it was genuine. By order of His Majesty, Parliament will reconvene tomorrow for an emergency session. That single sentence froze the nation. No one knew what it meant. Had the King already invoked his reserve powers? Was he dissolving Parliament? Or was this something even more radical? At dawn, MPs filled Westminster like ghosts. Security was doubled, the air thick with dread. Then the Speaker rose and read aloud a royal message, delivered by the Lord Chamberlain himself. "In the interests of preserving the unity of the realm, it is His Majesty's desire that the people be given a voice." Gasps echoed through the chamber. It was official. King Charles had just triggered a general election, bypassing the Prime Minister entirely. For the first time since 1834, the monarchy had intervened directly in government and the nation erupted. Some called it salvation. Others called it a coup. Outside Buckingham Palace, supporters knelt and sang God Save the King. Outside Downing Street, protesters demanded Starmer's resignation and the restoration of constitutional order. And yet through the chaos, one figure emerged. Calm, poised, almost prophetic. Nigel Farage. Standing before a wall of Union Jacks, he declared, "Britain has been given a second chance. The politicians failed. The people will decide." Within hours, Reform UK surged to 28% in national polls, just 2 points behind Labour. Conservatives hovered at 31%. The race was now wide open, and the man once mocked as an outsider was suddenly within touching distance of Downing Street. Meanwhile, Starmer was finished. His aides begged him to resign gracefully. His allies stopped answering calls. At 11:45 p.m, he appeared on camera one last time. Eyes red, voice hollow, he said, "I have always believed in democracy. Tonight, democracy has spoken." He walked off without taking questions. By morning, the Prime Minister had left Downing Street and Britain had entered a new chapter, one not seen in 300 years. The King had done what no monarch dared to do since George III, act. And in doing so, he restored faith in the institution many thought obsolete. But the story didn't end there. Because even as Britain prepared for a snap election, whispers began to spread through diplomatic circles. France's president reportedly demanded clarification on the King's authority. European leaders quietly questioned whether the monarchy had just rewritten constitutional precedent. And inside the Commonwealth, murmurs of loyalty and rebellion began to stir. Was this the rebirth of monarchy's power or the beginning of its end? At Oxford, constitutional scholar Dr. Sarah Matthews warned, by invoking these powers, Charles has redefined the role of the monarch for the modern era. But once the genie is out of the bottle, it can never be put back. In the pubs of Manchester, people debated whether the king was a hero or a tyrant. In London, protesters clashed under banners reading "Power to the Crown" and "Democracy Forever." And across social media, millions argued over the same haunting question. When a monarch defends the nation from its own government, is that courage or treason? As the election approached, polls painted a new reality. Reform UK at 30%, Conservatives at 28%, Labour at 24%. A three-way knife fight for Britain's soul. And in the centre of it all, a silent, stoic king watching from Windsor. He had made his move. He had defended his realm, but at what cost? Because behind palace gates, advisers whispered of something darker. That Charles, though outwardly calm, was now facing a constitutional backlash unlike anything in history. Some demanded abdication, others begged him to stand firm. And in the echo of that turmoil, one truth became clear. Britain would never be the same again. A prime minister destroyed by pride, a monarchy reborn through defiance, and a populist movement rising from the ashes of chaos.